Hello, patrons. This is TJ, and here we are in the Lego room. And today I'm going to do something that I promised I was going to do for you, and I hope you know I'm staying up late just for you. So, we're going to be talking about the Lego game. And I think first things first is I need to explain to you how the game works, the different steps of each player's turn, and then some of the other basic and core mechanics of playing the game and the idea behind it. So first off, the idea is that you'll be able to take any of your minifigures and any of your sets and put them into the game. The sets that you put in the game will most likely be relegated to set decoration, obstacles and things like that. I oftentimes use spaceships and things like that. But let's show you the game board real quick. So what I've done is I've taken the this mat, which is for Star Wars Legion, and I just taped a bunch of hexagons on it, and they are not perfect. As a matter of fact, they've been on there for about a year, and some people, it bugs them that they're not perfect. But I needed a board, and I needed to prototype it really quick, so that's what I came up with. Plus, it's the Hoth print, so there's like AT-AT tracks and stuff like that in it, which I think is cool. One of the cool parts about this game is you're going to be able to take any character from any universe, and any minifigure that you have, and have them come in and be able to battle each other. What you'll end up doing is... and the iteration of the game that I have right now is you're going to take one of your characters, you're going to take a picture of them, and then you're going to put that picture next to what I'm calling a loadout card right now. It's usually either a weapon or an ability or a set of abilities or a costume that you may wear that will determine the abilities of your character. Now, one of the key things about this is I've been told that you want to make sure that you have a good theme behind it. The theme behind this game is that your Lego characters are going to be picking up the weapons and abilities, costumes of characters that exist inside the universe that I'm creating. And so while you can have Legolas with Legolas's bow, it may not necessarily be called Legolas's bow or Legolas's knives and things like that. They may be called something else. But anyway, that's not the most important part. The important part is you guys want to know how to play it, right? So, on your turn, you're going to have 3 available actions to do. Your first action is always going to be a move. You can move any character on the board 1 space. So, and the spaces are these hexes, which means that your character can move from anywhere inside 1 hex to anywhere inside another hex as long as they can go in a straight line. So for instance, if Thranduil here is over here and he wants to go behind this barrier, he can't quite make it because he would have to either hop over it or try to go around it, and that doesn't quite work. So he'd have to come over here and then use a second move action to get over the barrier to get out of harm's way. Or he can just move relatively close to it and hope that it gets obstructed enough so that the other guys can't make their shots as easy. After you move for your first action, your second action can be another move, and that's free. Or you can pick one of the generic actions that are going to be on your character's loadout card. Those actions will generally be adding a extra damage to your attacks, adding extra defense to your defensive cards, or one of another 100,000 different abilities that we'll put into the game. Once you've done those 2 actions, those 2 free actions, you will have a third action in which you will be able to play a card. Now, each player takes a turn doing these 3 actions. Also, that third action, you can also discard a card to do a general attack or another action, which is pretty cool. What I'm going to show you right now is some prototype cards. So again, these are not official finalized cards. As a matter of fact, these are just copies, one with and one without borders. I'm not entirely sure which one I like. Part of me really likes the bordered ones, but the other part of me really likes the non-bordered. Obviously we'll need to clean it up a little bit, but it's actually not too bad. Alright, so your cards correspond with your character's loadout card, and your loadout will have 3 different symbols in the top left hand corner. So this particular symbol is a lightning bolt. So if your character's loadout has a lightning bolt, that means you can play this card. This card is a 5 damage card, and if it does any damage at all, you get an extra 2 damage out of it. So it's kind of nice. You kind of want to catch your opponent when they maybe don't have the highest valued cards in their deck, or if they're running a deck that doesn't have high value cards as far as defense, these lightning bolt cards can be pretty good. The way I figured it is if you get struck by lightning, it's going to do some damage no matter what. So even if you only get hit a little bit, you're still going to get hit by a bit. So if it gets at least 1 damage in, you're going to get an extra 2. So if your character has the lightning icon, which I also call the energy icon, then you can use the card for its ability, which is 5 damage, and if it does any damage, you get +2. This bottom left-hand corner is its default damage amount. So if your character does not have the energy icon, you can also discard this card to get that damage out of it. So it's 4 damage, straight up. Now in the upper right-hand corner, you'll notice that there is a little shield with a 9 on it. That's because these cards can also be used for defense. Now on your turn, you're going to only have 3 cards in your hand. On your turn, I should say, each round. The rounds are very short. We don't really keep track of them. But when it's your turn to defend, your opponent will attack. Let's pretend that our opponent attacks us with a 7 attack. We'll use one of the other cards here. So they attack us with a 7 attack. We're going to pretend Legolas is attacking Drax here. So when Legolas attacks with the 7 attack, we have that opportunity to try to block that attack. If we can block all of it, that means that we're going to also block the additional 2 damage that he could get if it did the damage all the way through. Well, luckily, in our hand, we have 3 cards that can defend for that damage entirely. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to go ahead and defend for 7, which means it's blocked entirely. We discard both of those cards. And then when it's when the attacker's turn is over, the attacker then draws up to their hand size, which is 3. It's pretty much going to be 3 the whole time until some of the expansions and extra abilities come into play. But it's going to be 3 cards. If you defended that round during that turn, you do not draw up. Only the attacker draws up. And that means they're going to have an extra card for their defense when it's their turn to defend. Now let's say, for example, that we decided, you know what we're going to do? Actually, let's think this through here for a second. So that was actually my highest cost card, and it looks like all of my cards can basically block each other. These are definitely on the low end of the values. But then once it's my turn again, I can then turn around and say I'm going to attack for 5 with a character that has the energy-based icon. We're going to pretend that that is Star-Lord. Now, on my turn, when I attack, obviously I'm not doing all of the actions here, but I do have 2 cards, which means I could take my first action to move somebody. I could also then do another move action, so I could have 2 move actions in a row. One advantage of that is I could move Drax over here, and then as a second move, although see, I'm messing up the rules a little bit, and I apologize. Melee characters are a little different. When they move into a space, they can then close the distance and move right next to any character that's in that area that is not behind something. Generally, melee characters can get around barriers pretty easy. But let's say, for instance, I need to get Star-Lord over here. I can move him once. Oh, he's still obstructed by that barrier to get to Legolas, so he's going to move one more and see if he can get a clear shot. You cannot shoot through enemy units. You can shoot past your own units as long as they're in the same space, but if they're in the adjacent space, you can't shoot through them. If a character is obstructed at all, then the shot is obstructed and you -1 from the attack value. So with this 5 or 6 attack, I would definitely want to get an unobstructed shot in. But that may not always work. I know this has been a little bit long explanation, but that's basically how the game goes. The game then continues until one by one each of the characters is eliminated, and the game is over once all characters on one particular side is eliminated. So who would win, Guardians of the Galaxy versus the elves of the Lord of the Rings? Who knows? But it'll be a fun game to play out with each other. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I'm in the middle of developing the game. I'm really starting to pin down these numbers on the cards. Again, these are kind of low valued cards right now. I'm going to be adapting it and changing the numbers as we go along, just depending on how it goes. But that's kind of what we're looking at. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that little sneak preview of the game that I'm developing. It's still a little bit clunky as far as getting it on your table, because you still got to take a picture of your characters and then assign them a loadout, build your decks. I'm hoping to have it pretty streamlined for everybody once the actual game comes out, and make it even easier for everyone to get their cards printed and even print them at home or print them through a service of some kind. So other than that, the game is pretty solid. The gameplay works really well. I've been working for the last few weeks with different people, different game designers, to make the game better. And so far it's worked really good. And we've gotten to the point where everybody just wants to start building their decks rather than just learning how to play. They want to learn how to customize their decks now. In addition, there's one last thing I'll mention. Is in addition to your generic cards that match your icons, there are also going to be special ability cards that both have single icons for that particular one. So there will be energy specialty cards, but there will also be cards that combine icons and have multiple icons on the specialty card. So your character would have to have both of those icons in order for them to use the special ability. Special ability cards are going to be a little bit more powerful than the generic single icon cards, or even just the specials that only have one icon are still going to be a little more powerful than your generics. So there's a whole lot more to the game. I can't wait to tell you guys more about it. I could talk about it for hours. This is obviously just a really quick, really fast overview. I may even start recording games once I have the decks built, and I'll be posting them here to say thank you to everyone on my Patron, all the patrons that we've got out there on Patreon. You guys are awesome. I've been saving this money up a little bit at a time from Patreon each month so that we can work on getting some cards printed and possibly sending off decks to you guys at some point, and have you guys play test the game. So that's kind of the goal in the end. We definitely need a few more patrons to get to that point, but nonetheless, that point will be reached one way or another. So thank you guys so much for being my patrons. It really gives me the motivation to stay up a little bit later, to work a little bit harder, and to do a little bit better on each one of my videos and have them planned out and ready to go, and write scripts for them and everything. So you're the reason. I appreciate everything you guys do. Hopefully we'll be able to stick around and keep making this worth your time, and more importantly, worth your money. So until we see you next time in TJ's Lego Room for the patrons, play well.